Yo, hey, what's going on everybody? Alex with you here. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the two different types of cages available on the SmallRig website for the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. SmallRig is a company that produces all kinds of different accessories for many cameras, things that basically make our life easier. Little handles, cages, mounts, tripods, extension cables, all kinds of stuff. When I was searching for a cage for my particular camera, I came upon the fact that they had two cages. They had their original SmallRig cage for this camera, and they also had this additional cage called the Mamba cage. And so in today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the differences between the two cages, hopefully for those of you guys that might be looking for cages for your EOS R6 Mark II. So let's take a look. This is the original cage. This is the Mamba cage. If you look at the Mamba cage, the way that they've designed this cage is they have this sort of like a roughened up look, as you see right over here, as compared to the sort of just a shiny look of the original one. Both of them are in metal. Looking at the left side of the camera, we see that there's going to be a few differences in between the two different cages. The very first thing that you'll probably notice is that the original cage that we see right over here, this part here extends further out, whereas on the Mamba cage, this extensive arm here is actually a lot closer to the body. If you have this closer here, it will put the center of mass a little bit more shifted towards the back of the camera, whereas here, if we use this side, for example, to attach a side handle or anything like that, then it effectively puts the center of mass a little bit closer to the front. And if you have a really large lens, then possibly that might make a little bit of a difference. I don't think the difference is going to be extensive, but the difference might be there. Another thing that we notice right over here off the bat is the arrangement of the screw holes here on both sides is a little bit different. On the Mamba, we have the largest screw hole over here on the very top with the additional locators here. And then we have three of the smaller screw holes. So we have a difference here. And that difference will also determine what type of things you can screw into, like the larger holes. It's sort of inverted here, as you can see. It's this one, but it's upside down. The top part here is more, as you see, it's more closer to the camera as well. On this particular one, the SmallRig, this is extending a little bit further out. We see that both of these cameras on the upper left side have this part here. And that part here is used for, it's like a cold shoe, essentially. You can put a microphone in here, which is something that a lot of people do, whether it's a lavalier mic or a shotgun mic. It's right next to our mic port right here, and that way you don't have to have a really long cord or anything like that. Arrangement of the holes here is going to be the same. The very center hole here with those locating side holes. Basically, the reason why you have these little side pins here at the sides is to prevent this from moving around once it's fully tightened. Now, this is a big difference here between the Mamba cage and the original cage. So this is the original cage, this is the Mamba cage. The way the Mamba cage is designed is it's sort of made to basically go around and not get in the way of any of the knobs or buttons that we see right over here. As opposed to in this particular case, we are getting kind of in the way, and I'll flip the camera to the side, but we're getting these three extra holes here, which might be significant for somebody who's looking to attach something on this side, whether it's a microphone or maybe a light. You want an extra light of some sort of an LED thing, you have that option. The very first thing I notice is that because it's going over the top here, your on-off switch is kind of underneath there, as you can see, like right over here. In my opinion, it's not a deal breaker, but if we look at the difference between that and, you can see all the controls are readily accessible, whereas this one kind of almost slightly hides that on and off switch. Like I said, if you had the original cage for a long time, you probably don't mind the fact that it's sort of right there and it's hidden slightly. But that is the only thing that I've noticed, and I thought to myself, wow, okay, so that just was not that apparent to me when I was trying to choose these cages because I wasn't looking that closely. But now that you guys are watching my video, you can see that there is that difference, okay? So if somebody's wanting to have those extra holes here at the very top for a particular, I don't know, attachment, maybe something that they really need on this side, they will have it. but at the expense of maybe not getting to the on-off switch as readily as you do on this side, as you can see right over here. On the Mamba one, we only have the 3 holes here and then the one big one here. On this one, we have the 3 holes, the one that's not actually the big one, but we have one here with the attachment, then we have one towards the front, then we have 3 here at the very top. So quite a lot more different holes here for extra attachments that will be available. You have these little locking mechanisms right over here to keep the camera nicely and secured on both sides. So you have one here, you have one on the other side right over here. On both of the cages, they have a similar design. Let's take a closer look at the bottom here. You have a nice amount of space available to get to your battery right over here. So that's not an issue or a problem, which is really nice. Both of the cages will have this little key here, and it's actually used to unlock your camera from within the cage. That is something that I'm going to do right now so that we can take a look at these cages outside without the cameras in them. I really like how the SmallRig accessories and their cages oftentimes will come with some kind of a key or some kind of an Allen wrench that allows you to easily detach your camera from these accessories. Similarly to the cages here, this side handle comes with an Allen wrench here that gets magnetically kind of attached here to the bottom, and this particular Allen wrench is actually used for you to be able to screw in this little locating plate onto your cage, which is really nifty in my opinion. So that way, if you're out and about, we don't oftentimes carry Allen wrenches and all that type of stuff. You have it right there with you. So that's really a big plus in my opinion for SmallRig, for basically thinking of us when we're out, not really trying to worry about having the tools necessary, but we oftentimes will want to have the tools if we need to change things up. So that's really cool, and that is something that I really like about SmallRig. So we've got the 2 cages now without the cameras so that we can take a closer look without all the extra stuff. Of course, without the cameras in them, we don't really have much of a reference as far as where things are in relationship to the camera bodies, but that we've already seen that. So as you can see, if we set these side by side, the original SmallRig is going to be slightly taller, not by much, just ever so slightly taller, and the way that the Mamba cage is made is going to be a little bit different. It's kind of made, in my opinion, in such a way that it's sort of made to feel like it sort of wraps around the camera a little bit more, a little bit better. On the bottom here, these are actually little plates. You can use these to secure your camera onto any type of an arc tripod mount. See how there's just two little areas like rising up like right there. This is very common. I think it's called the arc plate. The way that it works is that basically these are designed to essentially clamp around the bottom of these cages, and both of these cages have the same clamping width. So that way, I know on SmallRig website, I was very tempted to buy their tripod because they were showing that their tripod has the ability to hook around their cages, but as you can see, this is not a SmallRig tripod. This is in fact, I think it's a Sunpack. Yeah, it's a Sunpack. And so anytime you have this arc design, you can use it to be able to secure your cage without actually having to have a separate plate. So who wants to have a separate plate on the bottom if you already have this on top of your camera? Sometimes you have to if you're using another type of tripod mount, but if you can help it, that's great. If you have these, just know that that kind of saves you a little bit of space and kind of makes your life a little bit easier if you can just secure the entire cage like this and not have to worry about it, which is really cool. So that's a big plus for these cages if you're sort of on the fence of whether or not you want to buy a cage like this. It's right there. That's one of the benefits. That's one of the reasons why I bought a cage. Here we have the original SmallRig cage, and it's measuring at 159 grams. 160 grams isn't that much, but if you think about the fact that you're going to be attaching a bunch of stuff to these sort of cages, then, you know, every gram makes a difference in that particular situation. So that's just something to keep in mind. the Mamba cage. It weighs exactly at 158, so it's really not that much different. Basically, they're the same. There's maybe 1 gram difference, but that's not significant enough for us to be able to make our purchasing decision based on 1 gram. On the Mamba part here, this top portion is a little bit closer to the actual camera. The holes here that we see are about the same, but does it make a difference here? We'll take a look. So when we look at the side here, this is about where it is in the extent of this particular handle. I know the SmallRig has a lot of different handles. If you're looking for third-party handles, you'll probably be able to find them somewhere online. But this is the RE locating light. I think it retailed for $29. I was just really looking for something super light to add basically to where I can hold the camera like this and walk around, considering I have a 24-70 f2.8. Like I said, things get a little bit heavy pretty quickly. And if you put like a Ninja on top, that's going to make it even heavier. But this is a really nice handle. It's got this space here to basically just kind of this hollow body with this rubber bottom part here that allows you to be able to hold this really nice and comfortably. I know I'm kind of getting out of the camera view, but it's, as you can see on this cage here, it sits a little bit closer to the camera. Now if we go ahead and remove this and put it on the other one, it will go the same way, I believe, but it will hang a little bit further out, right over here. And it does make maybe a little bit of a difference in the way that it feels as far as the balance. I don't think it makes much of a difference, maybe just a little bit. I think once you have your camera and everything's rigged and everything's ready to go, you probably won't note that much of a difference unless you were literally walking with both of the cameras, with both bodies, and both arrangements except with 2 cages like this, and you were constantly trying to weigh them. I think you're going to be able to get used to one versus the other. But it's the one thing that I do want to point out is sometimes people will put their Ninja or whatever external recorder you might have into this little cold shoe here. That's what I do with mine. I put it in here, but you also have the option a lot of times of screwing it into this part right here in the front, and that effectively pushes the distance between you and the recorder a little bit further away. Because one thing that I did notice is initially when I was having the external recorder, I would just put it on the hot shoe right over here, and I felt like the recorder was just way too close to my face. Maybe some other people feel the same way, but in this case, because this part right over here is a little bit further forward than in this case, not by much, but just a little bit, we might feel like there's a little bit of a difference in how far the screen is. It's not going to be substantial, but it is there, so that's something to pay attention to. If you're really feeling like you need to push that screen forward by a little bit, I would probably recommend buying a special, they have a special attachment that screws into this area here for your external recorder, and that way you can mount it to where it'll sit at an angle, which is something that I wanted to do, but I don't have that attachment. I just have like a cold shoe one that goes in here. So that's that. My particular side handle that I purchased from SmallRig, I really liked it. I've looked at all the different side handles they had, and I was pleased with the description of this one, and I kind of like it, the way that it's made. It's actually designed for both sides. If you look on the SmallRig website, you will notice there are some handles that are only for one side, like for your left side versus the right side. But in this case, you can actually you can hook it up to one side or the other side. It will change slightly because you have a different arrangement here at the top. You have this cold shoe right over here, as well as this additional attachment here. But on one side, this attachment will be in the front. On the other side, it will be in the back. So basically, if we were to attach this to on this side, it would look more or less like this. If we were to attach it to our other side, we would just have to flip this over, and it would look more or less like this. What is the best and most optimal attachment? Is it the right or the left side? Some people have 2 of them. For those people that are doing a lot of on-the-go filming, they might have 2 of them, and I think that's a great option for some people. So all I have to say, I think this SmallRig side arm is really cool because it has this sort of a little button right over here, and it basically allows you to rotate your handle in any particular way, which is really cool. We can take a look at that, in fact. But On the original body here, the original SmallRig, we have these attachments on your right side that would allow you to essentially, I know we're kind of losing daylight here, but you can attach it onto the bottom here, right over here. You can attach it to the bottom part. And then on the Mamba one, you can attach it to the top part. So that would make a difference for some people. So I went ahead and used the original SmallRig cage to attach this here, and it, like I said, it's kind of more towards the bottom here. And the way that it would attach is essentially you have this little side button right here that allows you to go from the bottom, and there we go. So that is one of the arrangements. And like I said, that the way that this button works is that like if you are wanting to shoot off somewhere at that lower angle, this allows you to position the angle of your arm in such a way that it might be more ergonomic for your wrist. And if you're shooting a lot of times from top down, or if you're, for example, shooting above the crowd, you can have this at any particular angle that works for you, and that's really, really cool. The disadvantage, in my opinion, of doing that is because of the way that this has this additional rotating mechanism, I feel like it pushes you away slightly from the camera, which might be an advantage to some people, but you have to get to the record button, which is right here. I kind of wish that this particular handle had a record button right on the handle, which some handles do. If you look at their inventory on SmallRig, you will notice that some of them will have a little separate little recorder button. And I feel like that might be something that some people might find advantageous. But this is one arrangement, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the other side. Now on the other side of this cage, as you can see, the little small holes that we're using to attach this handle are towards the top. On the Mamba cage, they're towards the bottom. So it's almost like a little bit reversed. So let's take a look. When you do make an attachment of this particular little thing, you do notice that there's a lot of leeway as far as, where you want your handle to be. You can have it towards the top, you can have it towards the bottom. So like I said, if somebody's wanting it just so slightly to where they're happy with it, they have that option, which is really nice. And now in this particular case, here is the final arrangement on the opposite side of this cage. A lot of people actually prefer to use their left hand unless they are left-handed, but they use that for manipulating the focus or just kind of holding it here just to give it an extra balance. But if you have another arrangement, you can have the handle here, or you can have two handles, which is what some people do when they're out and about, and that actually gives the camera a little bit more balance. As you're walking, you have two handles. They're kind of separated away from the camera and kind of give you this sort of like a better feel. I think this was the arrangement that I had with this particular way of holding my camera. This is my camera, and this is the Mamba cage. So on your right side, as you could see, you have the ability to, as we've seen with the other cage, you can put the both the locator and also the handle grip part here higher or lower depending on where you want it. So you have a little bit of a leeway, not much, but you do have some. I prefer to have the handle here, like I said, because for the way that my camera is balanced, I feel like with a big lens here, I like to have my hands on the bottom of the lens so that I could get that nice feel, nice balanced feel. But if I had two handles, I probably wouldn't mind. I don't know if SmallRig wishes to send me a handle, that'd be great. But this is the arrangement I had. But like I said, you can also put it on the other side, and we'll take a look at that. And here's the arrangement on the other side. So I think that some people would prefer to have it this way, simply because they may not necessarily worry about putting their hand on the bottom of the lens, but they have a nice grip on this side, and you have a nice counter grip on this other side, on the left side, that really kind of helps to keep your camera in balance, especially if you're doing some complex movements from the top to bottom, that type of thing, and you really want a nice steady grip. Then you want it further away, because the further away the grip is, a lot of times that gives you that extra stability. And also, like I said, you hear on this particular grip, you have a cold shoe, and this additional attachment here for the cold shoe. A lot of times people may put their microphone here. I tried putting a surround sound microphone on the top here. It really doesn't change the balance too much of the camera setup, and it pushes your microphone a little bit away. So maybe if your camera has some kind of a sound, or maybe your lens is an older lens and it's making a little bit of a sound, microphone being a little bit away, maybe something that you would choose to have. But in this particular case, this is the arrangement on the other side. The only thing is, when you do have that little bit of an extra attachment and you're walking around with the camera, you do feel the little extension here. And does it bother you too much? Probably not. I had it on the other side. But you do feel it. It's kind of like a little bit extra. See, it protrudes a little bit. So if you're walking around holding your camera, in this case, in this side, it does kind of bother me a little bit. Like I have to almost wrap my hand around it to get to my lens. But that's just something to keep in mind. Now, alternatively, they do sell other handles, actually cheaper handles. But those you have to screw in and screw out all the time. So it's just something of a preference for you. You don't have to spend as much money as I did, and you can still get a good handle if you're looking for a handle. It's really not going to be that much of a difference as far as time for you to be able to take a handle off or put it back on. And if you're using one all the time, then this particular little hookup isn't really even that necessary for you. But alrighty, so that's about all I wanted to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that by watching this video, you were able to make an informed decision, especially for those of you guys out there that were on the fence or really needed to get some answers as far as specific differences between the two cages. If you did stumble upon this video, thank you for taking the time to watch it. And be sure to leave some comments below. Let me know. My intention is to make these videos helpful for people out there that might otherwise need the extra information. And like I said, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye-bye.